G'day guys, welcome to another episode of the Pumped On Property Show with Ben and Simon. Now, in today's episode, it was funny, man, just because off camera you're like, welcome to the mania phase. We kind of feel like this is almost like 3 mini podcasts in one big podcast. We start off by being a little bit philosophical and talking about values, but then we get super deep into the position that we're both in at the moment. Simon obviously coming off a really big season of investing recently, and sort of sliding into a slower phase where I've been in a slower phase and I'm ramping up a lot at the moment personally. And then we sort of rounded out by talking about some of the fundamentals and Australia's most undervalued markets where we see huge amounts of value at the moment. So it is a bit of a funky one, like in terms of just the flow. But for me, it was super fun recording it.
Yeah, and it was cool to sort of talk about the different budget ranges and where we'd be allocating our funds. Obviously, we talk a lot about what you're about to do with your budget and then what we're doing for some of our other clients with different budgets at the moment, because I think that's what it really comes down to at the end of the day. Like how I would choose to invest this year would depend on my budget, because there's great opportunities in a couple of markets, that being Brisbane and Melbourne, but not every single suburb in Brisbane or every single suburb in Melbourne represents value. So we sort of get really clear on the small pockets of the market that look awesome right now.
You just said something to me off camera, which I'm going to put you straight back on the spot, and I guarantee it's not going to come out as well. But I was absolutely loving it. And we were talking about the whole real estate space in Australia right now, and just obviously closer to the top of the cycle. People have just had time to be in it now, whether it's Bitcoin guys or gold bugs or the silver dudes or the AI speculators or the real estate speculators or the developers. It's just full with lots of people that have made a lot of money in the last 2 to 3 years that are like, I'm in and I'm going to help other people do it now.
Man, I reckon it's, 12, 13 years of people doing it now as well. It's like, yeah, the last 3-4 years have been incredible, which is completely normal for where we're at it in the cycle. But at the end of the day, like, we're getting to that pointy end. We're getting to that place where, we're 14 years in. So everything is saturated. Everybody is out there trying to get rich quick, trying to get their piece of the pie. And, I'm a sucker for it. I kind of love it as well. Like, I love the polarizing opinions. I love all of these Instagram reels that I see from so many different people about, like, the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 properties. And these guys are young, you look at them, they're young, they're attractive, they've got charisma, they've got like an interesting way of presenting themselves, and you can get drawn in, you can get dragged into that illusion that like, oh, this guy's doing it, look how successful he is, quote unquote successful. But for me and for you, like, we just laugh about it and like, we're just such simple guys. Like, I don't want 10 properties. Like, you're even saying, like, you're thinking of like simplifying even further in your life as well. And I think the type of people that we like talking to and like working with are just normal people that are, enjoy the work that they get to do. They enjoy spending time with loved ones, with family or friends. They want to build something for the future, a small yet quality property portfolio, 2, maybe 3 investment properties plus a principal place of residence over a 10, 15 or 20 year journey that gives us the choices to do what we want. Like, we've made the choice to just bring on 2 people per week for the rest of 2025. Even though there's about 8 people per week that want to work with Pumped On Property, but we want to simplify things so that we can lean into what we enjoy doing. I've had a massive year of investing and doing projects, and you're about to ramp up in your side of things. But I think this illusion of like success is just that, and I can understand why people get drawn into it. But at the end of the day, I think it's so important to just take stock of who you are, what you truly value and what you truly want. And I'd almost guarantee it's a lot less than what you believe.
It is. Like, I was catching up with a mate at soccer last night, and he's just come back, Nico, from 3 months traveling, and he doesn't have a family or a partner at the moment, so he's got the choice of time and freedom. And he'd just spent some time in a Spanish like Buddhist monastery. And I said, well, you know, what did you pick up there? And he's like, I remembered how simple life can be, how like to get rid of like some of the thoughts and the feelings in my body and just process them out. And then to also just to not need and to not want and to be around people like that again. And we were talking about it and I said, it's a trap. And he's like, it is the trap. And I get caught up on it all the time. And I've talked about it in heaps of previous episodes. Like it's that Gatsby green light or it's the fairy dust, you know what I mean? And it's that striving for something that we believe will make us happy and ultimately getting there and realizing that the journey was the important part. And I think something that I'm reading a lot about and listening to a lot about at the moment is this concept of enough. Now, I and everybody listening to this want to create the best possible life that we possibly can for ourselves and the people that we care about. No doubt about it. I want financial peace, which is when you own the assets that will give you freedom in the future. Financial security, which is where like your base level of costs are covered. And then ultimately financial freedom, where your base level and your lifestyle is covered. Like I absolutely want that, but do I want millions of dollars a year worth of that coming through, or do I need that? Or would like 150, 200K per year give me like 100K to cover all my stuff and 100K to just have an absolute ball with? And I think the older I'm getting, like turning 40, like very, very soon. And I feel like I'm remembering that no matter how much I've achieved, and I'm one of those people that has tried every single human crutch you can possibly try to try and satisfy like that craving and that hole inside myself of like, I want to feel good. Like I want to feel whole. I want to feel connected. I want to have that balance between simplicity and happiness and joy and freedom and discipline and consistency and growth and financial freedom, but only working 4 days a week, and business security, but only choosing to take on 2 people per week. And it's that tension, it's that polarity of life. And I feel like they said when you finish school, you'd feel great. And I just listen to my daughter now, she's 12, and she's like, I just can't wait to finish school. And it's like the dream. And then it's like, then uni, and then meet a partner, and then marriage, and then own a home, and then own an investment, and then pay them off, and then cut back at work, and then start a business. And it's like, it's all beautiful and part of like the experience of life, especially in the physical. But it's like, it was so hollow for me because I opened up every single door and went, oh shit, now I'm like, you know, Beetlejuice, how they open the door and it's just that sand.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, I'm here again. It's like, and now I'm starting to recognize that the journey and the joy and the experience of it and living the values and still working towards stuff, but not expecting that thing to create happiness is what it's been about for me.
And I think there's a few things there, obviously, like the human condition. Like I think we're just built to contribute, we're built to create, we're built to bring value or be of service, you know, all of these ideas. Like I think we need that. Like we've just got this fire burning inside us, and all you got to do is hang out with a 12-year-old or hang out with a 10-year-old, and it's not like an anxiety thing, it's not anything to do with being an adult, it's just human nature. We all want to create a better future. I think, you know, something I wrote down as you were talking there was just uncertainty. Like we fear uncertainty so much, and we crave certainty so much, but there is none. Nobody can predict the future. Nobody knows what's coming next. Like we've all had those unfortunate stories of, you know, I hate to go down that negative path, but like, you know, somebody who has their life taken away too early, a loved one, a family friend, or whatever it might be. And it just, you hear when those things happen, or if someone has a health scare, it really puts them in, gives them the right perspective on life. And they just realize that, oh, all of these things that I'm chasing is really just to fill that void of being fearful of the uncertainty of the future. But if you can just let go and surrender to the fact that, like, yeah, life is uncertain. The future is uncertain. We don't know what's going to come next, but in the moment, let's lean into what I'm good at, what I enjoy doing, and, you know, just get stuck into enjoying the journey, enjoying the process. Like, how many times do we need to hear it before we just recognize it?
I was literally just thinking that. I'm like, obviously one more.
I know, I'm a sucker for it as well. But at the end of the day, like, you know, we're super fortunate. I've got like the sauna in the backyard now, and I don't know how it is for you, but for me, like at the end of the day, finishing up work, just coming home, I tend to jump in the sauna for 15 minutes, and then I'll jump in the ice bath, and, you know, I'm just sitting there, and it just allows me to move into gratitude and just move into, like, you know, I process the day, I let it go, and I start to think about all the beautiful things that I have, rather than sometimes prior to having that sauna, I'd stay in that monkey mind of like, what's next? I need more, rather than just taking stock of what I already have and what I'm super grateful for.
I love that. Like, I was talking to our dad a few days ago, and I was saying I just listened to something in the morning, and it was like, what if you woke up tomorrow and the only thing you had were the things that you said you were grateful for today?
Mm.
And it's just it's a concept of enough. Like, you know, you and I were in that email thread that, did I CC you in that from Greg from New York?
Yeah.
The enough is enough one.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I feel like it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing because I'm still striving, and like obviously what we're going to talk about in a moment is trying to create certainty in an uncertain world. And I do believe this. Like, I believe we're here to discover our strengths. We're here to become the person that we're created to be and our best selves, and then we're actually ultimately here to just help every single person around us become their best self as well. And I know that buying more properties isn't necessarily going to make me happier, but fuck, I love doing it. I just really enjoy investing, and it's part of my makeup and what I do, and I love nothing more than like just getting someone a bargain as well. So like transitioning from what we're talking about now, like what are some of your plans for the next 12 months or for the rest of the year, like from an investment perspective? What are you thinking?
Well, something that I feel as though we do with every single person that comes into the business for a free strategy session, and what we do for every single one of our clients annually, and then what we do for one another as colleagues and friends and brothers, is like every single year or every single cycle that we have as investors, it's sort of taking stock of where am I at right now? Where do I want to be in the future? What's currently holding me back? What are my barriers? And then, you know, what's my immediate next step? You know, what do I need to do? What can I currently control to get that one step closer? Yeah. So I think this is just a constant of what we do as investors, as buyers agents, as people that want to create the best life for ourselves. Is just constantly doing that. So for me personally, like, I'm right in the middle of that at the moment. Like, I've been doing a lot. So my goals aren't necessarily about what I'm going to do. It's more about what I'm currently doing at the moment. So, you know, there's obviously different seasons, and my season right now is like, I've literally just finished a duplex. Yeah. So I'm still in the thick of that process. So like what I have been doing is, since about November last year, I've been building a duplex on one of my investment properties. I've just completed it, got the strata titles. I've just approved an applicant for the new build in the backyard.
Nice. How much do you get per week, just out of interest?
$600.
Sweet.
Yeah, so good. pretty good. So $600 per week. I've just renovated the front house as well, because it's been tenanted for the last 4 years, and would love to say tenants look after the properties as much as I do, but my OCD brain goes a little bit too hectic. So it needed a bit of work. I spent about $20,000-$30,000 on upgrading the front property, and now that's on the market to sell for about $700,000 plus. So like I'm still in the middle of executing a massive goal I set for myself last year and at the beginning of this year to complete. And that property is owned in a trust. So once I sell the main half, I'm going to pay off a fair bit of debt in that trust, and I'm then just going to have this property owned, positive cash flow in the trust, just fully self-sustaining itself. It balances out my investment portfolio with the positive cash flow and depreciation from that means that my entire property portfolio up to about a 6% interest rate is now neutrally geared.
Love that. That's a great
So
place to be.
all of these things that I'm getting so close to now executing and achieving have been a part of my goals for the last couple of years. So like I'm really still in the thick of it. And it's not necessarily about how I'm planning to invest in 2025. It's how I'm currently investing in 2025. So very different, because I know you've been on the sidelines for a while, and 2025 you've just decided to, take another step forward. So like you've been doing a lot of the other side of things, right? Working with accountants and brokers and financial advisors and like picking the eyes out of the market so much to try and figure out, okay, where's next? What's next? So like, how are you choosing to do this for 2025?
Yeah, so I've just come off the back of a 9-month process of getting all of my ducks lined up. So what that looked like was setting all of my loans interest only again, which was something, it was actually a goal that I put in my calendar in 2020. And I said in 2025, I'd reset all my loans to 30 years interest only. So it gives me the next 5 years, no matter how dark the economy gets or good it goes. I've just got 5 years without having to worry about that. It keeps my cash flow as low as possible across the portfolio, which keeps me as liquid as possible. And the 30-year loans just bring my repayments way down on some of those properties that I've had for a while. I made sure I got offset accounts across every one of them. I got the best rates possible, and then I improved all of the properties in the last 12 months too. So high pressure washers, deep cleans, renovations, repaints, re-garden tidied up. Like I just got what I have in the best possible place so that I can decide if I want to keep going. And then my wife and I, a few weeks ago, were just on Google, on realestate.com, and she's like, oh, we found something beautiful, which is a home, and it's got like a little cottage and a little shed. So her parents are going to move into the cottage, which would be sick, and our mum's going to move into the shed. So both of them being older and in good financial positions, but not phenomenal ones, can now not worry about anything, and I can also not worry about babysitting anymore. I've just always had that idea for like 15 years of communal living.
You're paying them back for all the years that you moved back into their houses.
100%. Like honestly, Lisa's parents, I think we moved back 5 times.
Yeah.
And mum's house a bunch of times too. And I just think one of my goals, as you know, has always been to like try and help our family unit out as much as I can. And so for me, I've always wanted the kids to grow up around more family. And it's just going to be beautiful, like especially for our mum, because she can rent out our home. She's just sold an investment that you and I bought for her about 4 years ago for good money. And she can just live the next 10 years traveling, having the funnest time and not stress about anything while she's still healthy. So we got this home. It's got like some land maybe for horses. It's got heaps of fruit trees. It's got room for like little motorbikes and stuff.
So stoked I never have to buy avocados again. I reckon that's like a quarter of my weekly budget is like avocados.
There's 50 avocado trees on this joint, hey?
That's so good, eh?
And honestly, one of them I walked past had about 300 on it. Like,
yeah, wow. They're so established, eh?
There's some of the trees are 100 years old, apparently. Like, it's
beautiful.
a farm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like been a big goal of mine. And that goal was from 7 years ago when I went to a mate's wedding at the Grampians, and I went, that's what it looks like. But it's taken me that long to be able to afford it and also to find it. Like, it's just very tricky to find all of those things in one place on the Sunshine Coast, where it's basically it's swampland up here. Like everything is below sea level. It's
There's only a few things, and it's hard to beat what you already had. And I sort of think about the same thing, like trying to beat what we already have is really, really, really difficult. It comes at a huge cost, and obviously they're few and far between. But yeah, it's so interesting. Outside of like some of the little hills, like you got Little Mountain, Aruna, Battery Hill on the south side, you got like Budrum, Alexandra Headland, and some of those ones in the middle.
Yeah.
But then everything else is just like low-lying swampland. Like you go down to Mooloolaba and you look at the old photos in the surf club of what it looked like just in the 60s.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that long ago, like 85 years ago. it looked basically like a swamp. And so what they've done is they've just come and pushed a whole heap of fill in and built these areas up. But like, if you're there, and because it's a tropical climate, it rains a lot up here, you know, you're just constantly damp. So it's so hard to find these little hidden gems where you're slightly elevated and you got good runoff. And, you know, because what's the point of living on the Sunshine Coast if you can't use your backyard because it feels like a swamp?
100%. So that sort of triggered us into, oh shit, like we can't afford 2 homes. So we're going to sell our current home, and that's on the market now as well, which is mad. So the first step was fixing the existing portfolio and getting ready for this move, because we've known that this is coming for a while. Like we would have looked at hundreds of homes in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then buying the new place and then selling it. So we did like a 3-month settlement to give us plenty of time to sell our home. We're 2 weeks into open homes at the moment, and in the like market that it's in, it's just the air's a bit thin up there and people are very particular. So I think my expectations on what it was worth is probably not the market's expectations. And I'm coming back down to earth now. But the other thing I've been working on in the background now for the last 3 months is a self-managed super fund. So about 4 years ago, because I'd been working for myself, I'd never really put money in there. And then I started to recognize the short-term and long-term tax benefits of super, as well as just that being like financial peace, financial security in the future stuff, like making sure no matter what happens, that's all good. So I've set it up. I've got a pre-approval. I've got my wife's money rolled over. I'm waiting for my money to roll over. And before the 30th of June, I'll transfer what I can this financial year too. And that will enable me to probably get like $1.2 million home. And the market that, because I've got so much exposure to the sunny coast and Brisbane already, that would be my preference, because it's like expected to do very well this year and with the Olympics coming up. But Melbourne looks phenomenal on paper. Now it's super, super, super early to be getting into Melbourne. It's kind of like getting into Perth or Brisbane in about 2017, 18 right now. So I don't expect it to run, but I do feel like in the next 12 to 15 years, there's incredible opportunity down there. So I've identified some of the beachside suburbs between Brighton and the Mornington Peninsula on the southeastern part of the city. I physically spent 3 weeks down there a couple of years ago, and I'm obsessed with it. Like honestly, if it was warmer, I'd go down there all the time. Like it is so beautiful.
Pretty expensive for Melbourne though as well.
Bloody expensive.
Yeah.
Like it's not West Melbourne or North Melbourne. It's, you know, Brighton, 11Ks in the city, sort of 2 to 5 mil, which I can't go anywhere near to afford. And then Sorrento and Portsea, 60, 70Ks in the city, are 2 of the most expensive suburbs in Australia. So my thought process is get something near the beach that people can commute to the city part-time if they have to work there a little bit. But Melbourne is going to be 10 million people before I retire. And if I look at Melbourne versus every other city in Australia, it's the only city with this peninsula set up like that is just down the road with phenomenal wineries, breweries, golf courses, beaches and lifestyle that people can just duck down and they're 40 minutes away from it. And so my thought process is it's significantly undervalued compared to Wollongong, Newcastle, Sunny Coast, Goldie. And I want to grab a little piece of it before Melbourne goes through its run at some point in the next 5 or so years.
And like that's a lot, because, you know, I've been looking at it as well. And, you know, whilst it'd be nice to have a $1.2 million budget, it's unrealistic, because, you know, once I sell half this duplex, pay off a little bit of debt, I'll finish the renovations on my principal place of residence, and then, which is a very small little project that needs to be done.
What are you doing?
Just the front yard, putting in a new driveway and just re-landscaping the front.
Wet bit too.
That's it, yeah. Just putting in I'll put in some new drainage and stuff. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Because we're like at the bottom of a hill and like we're on the lower end of the street, we get a lot of runoff. So I want to put in some good drainage at the front there as well, so that like anything that comes down from the hill or down from the street, you know, just gets caught there, and then I can pump it back out to the stormwater.
Oh, cool.
And then it'll just allow, like I've already got the backyard irrigated and drained, perfect. So I'll just do a little bit to the front, and then from there we're also going to allocate a little bit to SMSF, because, me and my wife, we don't have a heap in there. I
This
think,
stage of the career, like it
yeah,
takes so much time.
we're at like 150 now, and talking to a financial advisor, he's like, look, you need to get it to at least 200. So we're going to allocate some of the proceeds from this sale into super as well, and start building that up so we can get ready. And, hopefully once I get it to that 200K, I'll be in a position where I can maybe service a six or $700,000 property. And it's like, I'm not going to be able to buy the nicest home for that, but I'll definitely be able to get into the Melbourne property market.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And so, that's sort of the intention over the next couple of years, is to set everything up there and get into a position where I can enter in. And it's like, yeah, I might miss out on a little bit of growth over the next couple of years, but that's okay, because I don't want to necessarily go over leveraging myself too much to get into the market down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's really interesting when you start to surround yourself with an incredible team of advisors and you learn about these little opportunities, and it's sick that you're about to get stuck into it.
Yeah, like I feel, like you said, like, you were very, very active, and then you had about 3 years off, and then you've been very active in the last year. And I was extremely active, and then I had about 2.5, 3 years off, and now I wouldn't say this is an intense period. Like, it's certainly not doing duplexes or renos and crazy stuff. It's just more moving the dial, and the super stuff is more just like long-term financial peace and security stuff. Like, I'm really just doing it because I've got the money in super. I know the stock market's going to take a monster bath in the next couple of years at some point, and I don't want to lose half of my money in that.
Yeah, super funds aren't aware of this stuff, unfortunately.
And if they are, they
Don't
no
care.
fucks given. I'm sure they're aware of it.
Someone
like,
would
if
be.
you've got hundreds of millions of dollars, like, surely there's people that are like...
I've told you about our friend who works for Jefferies Bank as an equities trader in London, like big dog investor, big dog hedge fund manager, not manager, hedge fund investor. She doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, she's working, like they're trading hundreds of millions of dollars every day.
Wow.
And they don't even know about it. And like, I talked to her about it, and she's like, yeah, like I feel as though we might have something come up in the next couple of years, but like, we're all more about the day to day. They're not thinking about what's coming in 2 years. They're thinking about what's tomorrow. So I don't know, it's different mentality, and you really have to go down the rabbit hole to find it.
Yeah, it's tricky to find. Like, I was watching some stuff last night, and 250 views.
Yeah, it's crazy,
450 reviews from one of the best videos I've seen 18 months ago in my life. Like, it's just, it's cool. Like, I'm
grateful that we found it.
Yeah, and what we're referring to here is like The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking, or The Secret Wealth Advantage, like two very, very good books. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm aware of where we are in the 18.6-year cycle, and what we're referring to is the next GFC. It's absolutely coming at some point in the next 5 years, and probably much sooner than that. And so I'm conscious of the leverage that I'm in. I'm conscious of the cash flow that I'm in. I've started, like, or as much as I'm spending today, like I've got to make this jump to this new home, I will be beginning to save big time in the next 18 months. Like, a big focus of mine is a rainy day fund. And also reducing the costs in the business, which is something that we've been working on. Some of the things that we've done is we bought the premises, for example, which has been very helpful for like reducing the cost base of the business. We've also, like me and you, are taking more active role in the business. Let's just say that. Ben, who's been with us for the last 3 years and is a phenomenal buyer's agent, is opening up his awesome new gym up in Noosa. Which would be very cool, but that means that people that get to work with us for the next year get me to buy with them as well, and my sister Crystal, which is super fun. And yeah, I'm just sort of enjoying it, and I think there'll be big plays for both of us in the next crash. When everything comes on sale, I definitely want to be ready to roll. The thing that I'll be doing sort of tonight, and you and I were talking about off camera, is just really looking at the portfolio as a whole, the cash flow position as a whole, and really strategically thinking, I know there's only uncertainty, but there are things that we can do for our bodies. Like, we can eat well, we can sleep, we can drink good water, we can breathe well, we can train, and it makes our bodies feel great. Sometimes you get a physical benefit as well.
I feel financially we can do the same. You can read books, listen to podcasts, read the articles, follow the markets. Like, you can save cash, you can talk to advisors. Like,
You can
there is a
invest
way.
safely and securely. You can not take on too much risk or debt at the wrong time.
You can avoid speculation and just focus on quality assets.
Yeah, and I think I did want to point that out. Like, the canary in the coal mine is 10-year growth rates, and nobody talks about this in Australia. But after looking at over 4,050 suburbs, I was saying it was 4,222, but we've scrapped a few. So just over 4,000 suburbs. There are suburbs in Australia that have literally done 15% a year for the last 10 years and that have doubled or tripled since the last GFC. And then there are suburbs in the last 8 to 10 years that have literally done 1 to 4% per year. And I'm not telling anyone how to invest at all. Like, we're not financial advisors, we're not accountants, and we're certainly not saying that buying anything, even at the very top of a cycle, wouldn't be a great long-term investment over 30 years. Like, people that bought in Sydney in 2008 have all doubled their money. Same with Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, etc. But
Everywhere.
for me personally, it's not good enough to just go buy someone else's complete profit. And I want to be the one to get short, medium, and long-term gains, although short's very, very hard to quantify. And so if you're going to invest in the next couple of years, look at the markets like Brisbane, Melbourne, Darwin that have underperformed relative to others, and look for the suburbs within those markets with lower 10-year growth rates, with good vacancy rates, with all of the other fundamentals that we always talk about, and just sort of do it safely. Like, I don't think the 97.5% loans right now, or setting up 6 different trusts because your dodgy mortgage brokers, like, we'll call it positively geared and we'll get a dodgy letter from your accountant and we'll slide it through, and then, you lose your job in 3 years' time and you have to sell all the assets just to not go bankrupt for cheap. And we will be buying them off people like that at that point for our clients and for ourselves. And so I want everyone to be protected and safe as we move through this next period. And that's why...
And that's never changed. Like,
nothing's changed there.
Like, just because the system is allowing us to do it, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Like, we always have this saying, just because you can, it doesn't mean that you should. And like, we have people that come into our business that are balling out, and they've gone to a broker, and the broker's like, yeah, you can service $2 million worth of loans right now. You can service $1 million worth of loans. And we're like, that's awesome. And, obviously it's great to know that you've got capacity, but check out this property that you can buy for $700,000 with a 20% deposit, lower debt position, better LVR, better rental return. Keep that serviceability up your sleeve for another opportunity down the road, and just keep yourself safe. And it's like, it's a complete opposite to the narrative in the industry, which is like, more is always better. And it's like, for us, less is more. It's just how we think. It's how we operate. We're a quality over quantity people, and that we always have been, we always will be. I don't want to digress too much, but to get back into like how I'm investing in 2025, I'm going to finish off that project. I'm going to finish off the renovations, allocate some funds to the super fund, not setting that up yet because we're not there yet. But then once I've done all of those things, I'm going to go back to the banks and do what you've done, which is just refinance the entire property portfolio, get all of the investments onto interest only, get the offset account set up for me against my principal place of residence, because I want to keep that debt higher on my investment properties, and I want to keep the debt on my PPR a lot lower.
And you're going to go interest only on PPR? Or are you going to keep chipping away at it just because...
Yes, I should have said that.
Strategy?
Yeah, absolutely PPR until there's no debt on that.
Okay.
But I'll offset all of my cash savings and all of the leftover money in that offset account, so I've then still got access to it at some point in time, whenever I choose to do it. But it's just getting myself completely set up, so then at that point in time, once I've refinanced, I'll then be back in the position to go, okay, cool. That season's over. Where am I at right now? Where do I want to be in the future? What's currently holding me back, and what's my immediate next step? And like, one of the things that's holding me back from taking on a bit more debt or going out and getting more leverage and buying a property in Melbourne is the fact that, I've got a young family. I'm working full time, but my partner's looking after our son full time, and we want to have another baby soon enough. So, you know, we're at this stage of life, and I think this is something that's really important to every person that's out there, is like everybody's at a different stage of their life, and you don't want to be comparing yourself to somebody that's at a different stage of their life.
Yeah.
You know, right now it's about reducing stress, reducing, you know, the amount of debts that we've got, and just keeping ourselves in a position where we can lean into family, where we can lean into the reality that we've got young babies, and this is going to be the period of our life that we're going to miss the most. So do everything that we can to not regret that.
I love that so much. What you're choosing is a values-based approach to your life. Figuring out what you love and then aligning your day-to-day actions and decisions with that. And that's a mistake that I made, and we've talked about this a lot. Like, I was so present with my kids until like my eldest was about 3. And then we started this business, and I got so distracted with all the fairy dust and the green lights for a little while that I don't regret it, because every single morning and afternoon, like, I was fully with them, but I was so anxious when I was, and I was so chasing things that, like, this business, set up another business with my mum, had another business, was doing like 1,000 property projects at that time, constantly buying and selling homes. Like, it was just a very intense period. What that did is it fast forwarded my now life 30 years into the future, but it came at a huge personal sacrifice that I don't think is worth it. And that's why at the start of episodes like this, we're always talking about values and philosophy, and hopefully, you know, people listening to this that are feeling either how I felt or how you're feeling right now, or where we're at the moment, are getting that sense that, like, it is a long play. Like, you've got 50 more years of investing ahead of you. Like, I've got another 30 or 40 years ahead of me. Like, it's a game that I enjoy playing, that I'll keep tinkering with. It is all on loan. It's all going to go back to our families and charity in the future anyway. And it's a case of, like, it's not who dies with the most wins. It's about who was present during the journey, who helped as many people as possible during that journey, who was like close to like a joyful state during the day, and like was dancing in the rain and enjoying. Like, this journey is so up and down.
And there's always another opportunity around the corner. Like, because I've been
100%.
doing this full time for eight and a half years now, I've seen the Brisbane boom in the middle of the city. I've seen the Brisbane boom on the beaches. I've seen the Gold Coast boom. I've seen the Sunshine Coast boom. I've seen the Sydney boom. I've seen the Wollongong boom. I've seen the Newcastle boom, Perth, Adelaide, Townsville. I've seen
one by one,
and it's like we all get so caught up. We get this FOMO of like, oh, I'm missing out. But then 12 months later, another opportunity pops up. Like, this time last year, Melbourne wasn't even on our radar. Right now, I am getting FOMO. I was talking about this with Sheehan, one of our clients, who's just amazing. He's right into personal development, and he's very similar mentality to the both of us. And you know, both of us are chatting. He's like, you know, I've read all the books. I understand all the stuff. And like, I know at this stage with where I'm at personally, it is hard to find those opportunities, but there's this drive, there's this ambition inside of us. It's like, do more. But it's like, once again, just taking stock of where you're at and where you're looking to be, and just, you know, doing what's right for you at that moment in time.
I'm literally negotiating 2 properties right now as we speak in West Melbourne, 30 to 37 k's from the city, and they're both 4-bedroom houses on 450 to 600 square meter blocks, and I won't pay more than $520 for either of them. Like, it is phenomenal value. It's just a matter of finding it. And the needle in the haystack, if you think it's a haystack, is hard. But, you know, Melbourne, Brisbane, Darwin, for some people, look phenomenal as a starting point right now. And then which pockets and then which suburbs within those look good is like the secret sauce. Like, there'll be winners and losers in Australian property, like there always has been. But if you start to get fundamentals and you invest with a plan, and like you said, like, your journey at the moment is consolidation. I've just gone through consolidation, and now I'm just having a little jump in again, and then I'll consolidate and build security out again. And it's like steps property, and it just takes time to implement those steps one thing at a time. And the idea of like rushing in and doing something and then regretting it, which is like what I did in my portfolio, not regretting it because everything ended up working out, but just going, man, I can make much better decisions, and I didn't have to do so many properties if I did it with a plan and a formula and best practice. And you're doing that, and the results are in the fruit. Like it's incredible results. It's a lower dose, it's a simple way, and you're getting yourself and your family exactly where you want to be at the right time in the right way.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that like 5, 6 years from now, the kids are going to be grown up. They're going to be going to school 5 days a week, 6, 7 hours a day. You know, that will be a time where we'll be able to lean back in quite heavily at that stage of our life. But I can absolutely guarantee, with no doubt in my mind, that at some point in the next few years, I'll end up be picking up another property because
Yeah, well, you have
I
your super
smell
one ready to go.
I smell blood in the water down in Melbourne, and you know, I want to take advantage of that. So, you know, this is where I'm at right now. But once I reevaluate my position at the end of this year or early next, maybe I'll realize that, you know, the numbers do stack up and there is an opportunity. So I try not to get too committed or too focused on what I've said I will do, because at the end of the day, I'm an investor and I want to take advantage of opportunity when they do present themselves. And when I see the what can happen to people who do buy at the bottom of a real estate cycle in a specific suburb, and what can happen in a few years, it's life-changing numbers for so many people. And you know, right now I'm not doing it personally, but I'm super excited about helping so many amazing people crack into the market down there, and crack into some of these suburbs. And one thing that we haven't really talked about is, like, you know, Brisbane, you know, these South Brisbane beaches, like
Phenomenal value.
Birkdale to Redland Bay, Alexandra Hills, Capalaba, like, you know, these areas are still chronically undervalued. Even if you compare it to some of those areas down on the southeast of Melbourne, it's still cheaper in Brisbane.
There's also some pockets, like for people with a little bit more of a budget, close to the city of Brisbane, sort of 8 to about 12, 13Ks in the city, in the northwest, the Hills District, that look phenomenal. So we started to buy there 10 years ago for about 600K, and the cheaper suburbs further out at the time were about 400. Now those cheaper suburbs are 800, but these suburbs closer to the city are only 900 to a mil. So it's like constantly reevaluating the market and where value is. And there's suburbs like in Brisbane, 7 to 9Ks on a different trajectory that are millions of dollars now. When we started to buy 10 years ago, the difference between one versus the other was 100K. Now it's almost $1 million.
That's
And
it.
so it's like, if you take the approach, which is what I just loved what you said, like we say these things and people would be like, well, they're constantly upgrading their forecasts and their ideas and their plans. And it's because we are not trees. We're
No.
not like rooted to this position. As new information comes in, we process that information, we interpret it against what we know, we forecast it into the future, and then we make the best decisions we possibly can with the position we're at. Like, I'm working with about 3 or 4 people at the moment with budgets under 550K, and I'm buying them all houses in Melbourne as we speak. And they're like, you know, some of them are just so grateful to get into it, as you can imagine, and others are kind of like, well, I want it close to the city, I want a bigger land size, I want a 4-bedroom home. I'm like, you're 30K in the city, you've got 600 square meters of land, and you're getting a 4-bedroom home for 550K. Like, this is Melbourne. You can't do that in Dapto in Wollongong or Dubbo.
It is.
Or Orange. Like, what are we talking about here? This is Melbourne.
It's crazy, but it's interesting to see how much of an impact the media and sentiment can have on property markets, because it's like, it's Melbourne. There's over 5.1 or 5.2 million people that live in the greater Melbourne region that's just been extended out to Melton. And, you know, this city had been rated in the top 3 most livable cities in the world almost every single year from 2010 to 2020. COVID hits, it gets rated as the worst city, or one of the worst cities in the world during COVID. And then you get a dodgy politician in there that makes some decisions, bad decisions for investors, and people that live there. And then you see, these big changes, people moving to Queensland, moving to South Australia, moving to Western Australia, and then the light gets shone on those markets. People completely forget about Melbourne, and then there's this like hangover of like what it was from 2017 to 2024, 25, which is a long period of time. So I can completely understand why people feel that way. But go talk to an investor who bought a property in Melbourne in 2007 and ask them what it's worth today.
Yeah, and it's so funny, man, because it's interesting that you say that. Like, when I first started to buy Sydney in 2011, right? People are like, why would you buy Sydney? And I'm like, because it's Sydney.
Yeah.
And it's because it's what I knew. And
But
it's where
from
I grew up.
2003 to 2011.
Yeah, like in the 9 years leading up to 12, I think it had done an average of 1% per annum.
Yeah, I was looking at it yesterday with a new client, and it was like, less than inflation.
Yeah, it was way less. And then there was a period in Brisbane when I started to buy here for clients in 2015, 16, 17. And the 10 years before that, Brisbane had done nothing. Like, it had literally gone flat for 10 years, the same as Sydney. And when I was moving out of Sydney into Queensland, people were like, why would you buy the Gold Coast? Why would you buy the Sunny Coast? Why would you buy Brisbane? And I'm like, because it's 300K for a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's worth more than that personally. Like, looking at a house in Cronulla at the time at 3 mil. And then when we started to buy anywhere else, like, it's like at the moment we're looking at the same thing. It's like, I never thought people would actually write off Melbourne, but people are writing it off. They're like, the land tax. And I'm like, on a 700K home, it's about $50 a week, maybe less. And they're like, but the stamp duty, I'm like, it's 20% higher than, or 25% higher than Brisbane and 20% higher than Sydney. And it's like, well, they're barriers to entry. And I'm like, yeah, because the state's bankrupt and they're trying to get as much cash back as they can. And the easiest way to do that's through property, because they don't have the minerals and the stuff under the ground that
It's a small
WA
state.
and Queensland have anymore. Like, all the easy gold's been ripped out. And I just feel like it's phenomenal when
It's just history repeating itself.
when I hear someone go, Melbourne's not on. I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Write it off, baby.
Yeah, write it off, because, it's the old saying from Warren Buffett, when others are fearful, be greedy. And when others are greedy, be fearful. So you just got to understand these realities and just look at the underlying fundamentals. Like, there's still over 5 million people that live there, projected to be over 10 million within, 30 or 40 years, maybe 40 years. There's like incredibly low unemployment rates. It's a really diverse economy, so you can get a job doing anything you want in Melbourne because it's 5 million people that live there.
Vacancy rates have come from 3% to like below 2%, and in some suburbs below 1%. And there's 160,000 people a year moving in there, according to the ABS at the moment, throughout Victoria. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's one to watch.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how long it takes them to get out of that deficit, if they ever do. But obviously, one of the ways to solve that is to let more people in, and Victoria's letting in, according to the ABS expectations, 160,000 people to Victoria every single year for the next 5 years, making it the highest expected population growth in the country, more than New South Wales, because obviously it's affordable. And there's good job opportunities down there. It's a much better lifestyle for these people from where they came from. So, I'm excited to see what actually happens down there. So I think, like, great opportunity in Melbourne for those with budgets of, say, like 450, 500, all the way up to sort of 800 or $1 million if you want the blue chip stuff. But I still feel as though, parts of Brisbane are still way too cheap than what they should be, in that bracket of sort of 800 to 1.2, because what we've seen over the last few years with the higher interest rates is the more affordable lower end of the market has been driving the massive capital growth rates that, as you said, like, this gap between the expensive suburbs and the more affordable suburb is really narrow, but it should be wider. And all you got to do is look at markets like Melbourne and Sydney, where you can realize these gaps. One of the guys that's just got started with us, and I'm like, you tell me 20 years ago, if you had the choice to buy a house on the northern beaches of Sydney for $900,000 or a house in Liverpool of Sydney for $750,000, knowing what you now know, what do you choose? Do you spend the extra $150,000 to get into the northern beaches or not? And he's like, well, now that you say that, it's a simple decision. So yeah, I think there's like a real disconnect in the Brisbane market there at the moment.
Yeah, like it's, I love that analogy, and I love the game of this. Like it's identifying opportunity early, using fundamentals as like rationale, using the key performance indicators to make the decision. And then it is still investing. It is still risky. It is still scary. Like it is still like, whoa, that's my money. Like I've been having a bit of a personal freak out because I'm going into debt again with this jump to this new home. And I'm like, it's uncomfortable. Like I've bought enough property to know my emotions when I buy, but it still caught me up for like 2 weeks. And I made good decisions over those 2 weeks to like eat well, to train, to spend time with my family, to sleep well, to recover, to do and live my values. But it doesn't mean it's not easy. It's like, and that is the beautiful tension polarity of life. It's like what is easy is rarely like well received individually or as a group, but like it is worth going through the pain.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it. It's changed my life so much for the better, and anybody that is investing in the next few years in either Brisbane or Melbourne will see what we're talking about 15 years from now.
Yeah, I'm excited.
G'day guys, my name's Ben and I'm the director here at Pumped on Property, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you for watching our content today. Now, if you're thinking about buying an investment property in the next 3 to 12 months, then the team and I would love to offer you a one-on-one strategy session. In that session, we can talk about exactly where you are right now, where you'd like to be longer term, and we can deeply educate you on the Australian market. And then you can take that information and go and absolutely smash it on your own, or potentially become one of the small number of clients that we work with each week. To book your session, all you have to do is go to www.pumpedonproperty.com and click that book your free strategy session button. But either way, we wish you all the best on your journey as an investor to financial freedom.